One of the main reasons Doom Eternal has held my attention for so long and inspired so many video topics is the depth of its combat. As someone with a background in competitive fighting games, it was quickly apparent how much fighting game DNA is in this game. To understand it, we gotta look at what makes a fighting game what it is, besides the punching and throwing and jump kicks and all the obvious stuff. We're gonna look at a few mechanics in fighters and draw parallels to Doom Eternal's gameplay. And to help me out, who better to join me than my old Mortal Kombat buddy and Doom Eternal podcast co-host, P&D Ketchup. Ketchup, how about you get us started on what's involved in playing a fighting game?
A fighting game is much more than just kicks and punches and special moves. Sure, that might be what it is on the surface level, when you're a kid mashing buttons at the arcade or maybe an old home console, as old as that makes me feel these days, but when you look beyond the basics, there is a rich world to be experienced, filled with hundreds of words in the vocabulary to represent different concepts. Fighting games are complex. There's much more than what you see on the base level that a player has to think about. Picking up on patterns, maybe player habits. The base game is there, but many elements of a fighting game goes beyond the attacks that you see in front of you. The first thing we'll look at is spacing. If you don't understand your opponent's speed and range, you won't last long in a match. You don't want to be close to a grappler or you'll get grabbed. You don't want to be far away from a ranged character because that's exactly where they want you to be on the screen. You need to have good awareness of where you are and where you want to be. At a high level, one of the most important parts of good spacing is whiff punishment. That's when an opponent tries to attack, but misses, aka whiffs. And during their recovery frames, you counterattack to punish them. Since they're recovering from the animation, they are unable to block.
You can cause someone to whiff an attack by moving in and out of what's called footsie's range, right at the end of where your normal physical attacks can reach, and a well-timed backdash can leave an opponent wide open for a punishment. Doom Eternal's dash mechanic allows for the same exact situation. Dashing in combat isn't just for navigating the arenas or escaping danger. Smart dashes upon the recognition of a telegraphed attack will let you punish a demon for overextending. This is particularly useful against enemies with charging attacks like Hell Knights, Barons, and Whiplashes. Having good movement and spacing is a crucial part of controlling the fight and perfecting the art of the combo.
Fighting games are known for their combos. Landing a hit will result in an amount of stun that allows you to follow up with another hit. Street Fighter has you linking single attacks inside stun windows, resulting in a combo, and if you miss that window, the opponent can block. A game like Mortal Kombat has multi-attack strings that can be dialed in, so if one hits, they all hit. Combo type is determined by what your end goal is. Do you want to do maximum damage? Do you want to build extra super meter? Are you trying to take your opponent into the corner? Do you want to leave them in a position where they're vulnerable to one of your many setups? Is this a good opportunity for a long combo? Or is something happening around you that means you need to do a quick combo and then defend yourself afterwards? Are you in a position where you need to do simple, reliable damage, or can you style a bit and have some fun without risk of messing it up?
But Ketchup, what does this have to do with Doom Eternal?
I think it's better if you tell us, Mayo.
Meh. Okay. The faltering system of Doom Eternal is similar to the stun system of fighting games. Hitting an enemy with heavy damage, or throwing a grenade, or breaking a weak point, or any of the various ways to falter enemies, gives you a window to follow up with another attack before the enemy is able to recover. And just like a fighter, a variety of attacks will serve your combos better than just repeating a single attack. A Mancubus can be faltered by breaking his weak point. Once you're close, you can blood punch him to falter again, and then finish him with the super shotgun. So in Doom Eternal, long combos don't come from a single stun window, rather from multiple stun windows caused by different attacks. And maybe it's just the Mortal Kombat player in me, but locking down a demon with multiple frag grenades reminds me so much of Cyrax's bomb pressure. There are combos in Doom Eternal that lead to different outcomes too. Just like how a fighting game will have you change your combo depending on the setup or resource you need at the end, in Doom Eternal you may decide to use a meat hook super shotgun in your combo to build armor. You may finish with the microwave beam to trigger the explosion that falters surrounding enemies. You may get airborne and back away with your final shots to stay away from the chaos. You may end with a glory kill to get your health back, or even use a Mancubus explosion to damage other demons. You have so many options, and just like in a fighter, you can choose to go with the simplest, most reliable combo option, or you can be someone who likes to style on the enemies and use less popular strategies. Ketchup, what's next?
The last aspect we'll discuss is the motivation to learn and master the variety of your attacks. In a good fighting game, just using one attack is a good way to lose really quickly against a knowledgeable opponent. There are exceptions here, but they are often the result of poor balancing and are generally disliked by fighting game communities, as rare as they can be. The different punches, attacks, grabs, and special moves of each character has different ranges, damage values, stun duration, startup speeds, and recovery speeds. Using your longest range and strongest punch might not be the best option when attacking an opponent. A faster attack with less range and damage might be the easiest way to land that hit first, which will lead to follow-up hits where you can bring in the big damage later. Some attacks might not serve your offense very effectively, but due to their trajectory and hit priority, can serve as excellent defensive options. Some special moves might require super meter, which is a resource that always needs to be observed and managed. You don't always want to throw out your enhanced special moves, or you'll be left with only your basic tools for a while. So you have a wide variety of attacks, but some of those attacks should be used sparingly and at the correct time. And Doom Eternal has this kind of system when it comes to ammo management and weapon functionality.
Doom Eternal is a game built around weapon switching, not necessarily the high-level quick-swapping stuff you see some players doing, just a general use of most of your weapons. As Adam Kara so perfectly put in his video comparing Smash Brothers to Doom Eternal, every weapon is like a different attack of a fighting game character. That's why just shooting one gun doesn't work very well and gets boring after a while. It's like mashing your standing heavy kick for an entire fight. It's not gonna work and you're gonna get bored. Like any other shooter, your weapons have different degrees of effectiveness depending on range and firepower. And those differences become even more important given how much emphasis is put on movement, variety of demon behavior, and demon-specific weaknesses to certain kinds of attacks. We've already seen how a variety of attacks is useful for managing your space and executing combos, but Doom Eternal also encourages attack variety by having enemies with weapon-specific weaknesses. Flying enemies take extra damage from the ballista. Knight class demons are weak to the chain gun, and then there's the breakable weak points which are vulnerable to long-range sniper shots from the precision bolt or ballista, sticky bombs from the combat shotgun, and even the blood punch if you want to get up close. Caco demons in the first level show you that sticky bombs or frag grenades in the mouth will grant a glory kill, as a way of getting new players to remember to use weapon mods and switch weapons. And once they get the hang of the rest of their arsenal, you can find even faster ways of disposing of Caco demons, like the Arbalest shot of the ballista, or a 2-hit combo of rocket into meat hook super shotgun, which is doable from level 3. On top of that, we have recharging equipment like the flame belch, frag grenade, and ice bomb. Like your enhanced special moves in fighting games, you want to choose your moment carefully to use them for smart offensive or defensive opportunities. If you use the ice bomb or flame belch on one demon, you're robbing yourself of a big armor refill or panic button later in the fight.
The developers of Doom Eternal knew that a lot of people wouldn't be used to this kind of playstyle, since so many shooting-based games are basically about finding the 1 or 2 guns that work the best for you, and then just relying on them the entire time. Especially now with all of the looter shooters and RPG-style shooters, where you just invest a bunch of upgrades into the one rifle that you like, and take that throughout the entire game until the end. So on top of all the weapon utility is the ammo management. Doom Eternal starts with a low capacity, though it's not actually as low as it feels the first time you play. The first level is littered with ammo pickups, more than you'd ever need, in fact. But since the levels have so many enemies, and it moves so fast, it's easy to get overwhelmed and miss your shots, and not see the ammo pickups. You've got to use the chainsaw to restock, and once you find the heavy cannon assault rifle, you start to figure out that by killing some of the enemies with the rifle, and others with the shotgun, you have to use the chainsaw less frequently, instead of using all 16 of your shells and then chainsawing to get them back. Switch to your heavy cannon and wipe out the rest of the room with micro missiles, or precision bolt as I prefer, and get a big ammo refill chainsaw at the end of the fight. Eventually, you'll be using a few shots of the shotgun, switching to rocket launcher to take down a heavy demon, using the precision bolt to break an arachnotron turret, and then spraying plasma at a distance before running in for the blood punch while a grenade explosion covers your exit. Once you get into it, the ammo capacity is hardly noticed because you're now playing smart.
There's even a similarity in the aspect of glitches. Glitches in video games are usually looked at as bad things. They break the intended experience, break immersion, break the game entirely. You probably only enjoy glitches if you're a speedrunner or someone who goes looking for exploits for whatever reason, or you just think they're funny. But glitches in fighting games are a bit more interesting. Glitches can allow for strategies and metas and competitive play that designers would never have come up with. Some of the most common mechanics in fighters have come from glitches. If you played Japanese 2D fighters like Street Fighter, you know about cross-ups. In fighting games where you have to hold back to block instead of using a block button like you would in Mortal Kombat or some 3D fighters, a cross-up is when someone hits you on the backside of your character. So while you're holding back to block, you would actually need to hold forward because you're blocking an attack that's hitting you from the other side. This originated in Street Fighter 2, but it was a glitch, and despite it being unintended, players found that it added a deeper level of strategy to the game, and from then on it was intentionally included. Now it's a staple of the 2D fighting genre. It's not entirely comparable to something in Doom Eternal. The closest is probably how quick switching has become the high-level meta of the game, and more recent discoveries like punch swapping. But for me personally, the Marauder-friendly fire glitch comes to mind. The Marauder blocks your shots with his shield, and that causes the dog to spawn. As players get better at dealing with the Marauder, they'll never shoot the shield, meaning the dog will never come out. However, there's a glitch where the Marauder also blocks friendly fire from other demons. Some players want this glitch to be fixed, others like it the way it is. Director Hugo Martin said they decided to keep it in because the dog spawn is an important part of the Marauder fight and they wouldn't want to reduce his presence to zero. I tend to agree with that because if you're running away from the Marauder and dealing with everyone else in the room first, the Marauder really poses no threat. But if he's occasionally blocking friendly fire and spawning dogs while you're trying to deal with the rest of the room, it can put that added pressure on you and make you want to engage with him now just so you don't have to deal with more dogs. Personally, I like that. And like fighting games, it shows how a glitch can actually add to the dynamics of combat. The similarities between Doom Eternal and fighting games have stuck out to me ever since I met the Marauder. A lot of what we've talked about here specifically applies to him. Spacing, backdashing away from his axe, using the right attacks to interrupt him, weapon variety for combos, using falters to set up extra damage. The Marauder's fighting game design is probably why I enjoy his inclusion so much. There's so many things in Doom Eternal that draw on the deep design of fighting games. Fingers crossed that the next id Software game continues this fighting game philosophy behind its combat. If it does, we'll have another deep game to analyze. Whew! Wow, catch up, we covered a lot of stuff today.
You can say that again, Mayo. We definitely did.
Thanks so much for joining me on this video. I've wanted to do this for a long time.
It's been an absolute pleasure. This kind of video is always really fun to make, and admittedly, it's been a while since I was able to cover some Doom Eternal, so I definitely appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for watching this, everybody. Make sure you're subscribing to Mayo for more of this Doom Eternal content and other games to come, and I'll see you next time. Take care.